Hey, you don't belong here. You are just a house help. Leave.
I'm here because I belong here now.
The story begins in Palatial Galleon International boardroom, where 21-year-old Naomi Teasley enters carrying a leather briefcase, her simple jeans and black shirt immediately drawing contemptuous stares from the assembled executives. The Galleon family, particularly Mark, the arrogant acting head, mistakes her modest appearance for proof she's merely the house help's daughter and attempts to humiliate her publicly, unaware that she holds the legal authority to dismantle their entire empire. Before we continue, welcome to Brittany's Stories. This is a home of powerful, emotional, and unforgettable stories, filled with drama, secrets, unexpected twists, and life-changing moments. Each story is crafted to entertain, inspire, and keep you thinking long after the video ends. If you love shocking reveals, hidden identities, billionaire secrets, and stories that touch the heart, you're in the right place to like our videos. If they move you, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. Mark Galleon smoothed the lapels of his designer suit, his eyes raking over Naomi Teasley with a look of pure, unadulterated disgust. To him, she was a blemish on the room's pristine aesthetic, a young woman with natural curls and faded jeans and a plain black shirt who had somehow wandered into a sanctuary of power. He stepped closer, the air between them thick, with a judgment that felt almost suffocating. "Listen, Naomi," he began, his voice dripping with the kind of venom usually reserved for a nuisance. He reached into his leather wallet, pulling out a thick stack of bills. "I know your mother, Celeste, has been struggling ever since the company refused to provide her with health insurance for her medical bills. It must be exhausting, carrying a heavy, frayed backpack and pretending you're anything more than a housekeep." He fanned the cash in the air, offering it like a tip for a lifetime of service. "Consider this a bonus. Pocket change to cover your mother's slacking. Since you're already standing there, honey, be a doll, take this, and find your way out before the real meeting begins." He shoved the money toward her, his face twisted into a sneer as he waited for her to grovel for the handout. He didn't see the way her hands gripped her backpack straps, which were heavy not with cleaning rags, but with advanced corporate law and international finance textbooks. Naomi didn't flinch or glance at the money. She looked directly at Mark, her gaze locked on him with a terrifying, calculated calm that made his hand tremble slightly. "You think my presence here can be bought with a tip, Mark?" she asked, her voice steady enough to cut through the silence that had slammed down on the room. Across the table, Tiffany Galleon was already snapping a grainy photo of Naomi's worn-out sneakers on the expensive carpet, preparing to mock her to thousands of followers. Mark laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. "It's more than you're worth," he snapped, unaware that the girl he was trying to dismiss as trash had spent the last 6 months helping the family attorney draft the very documents that were about to dismantle his life. Naomi shifted the weight on her shoulders, the frayed straps of her backpack digging into her skin with familiar, grounding pressure. To Mark, the bag was a tattered accessory belonging to a girl who didn't belong in a room of pristine aesthetics. He had no idea that the dull metallic thump it made earlier wasn't from cleaning supplies or rags. Inside, nestled against her international finance textbooks, with a final audit reports she had spent 6 months meticulously preparing with Mr. Alvarez. Her mind raced through the columns of figures she had memorized. The exact digital trail of the $12 million mark had siphoned into secret accounts while her mother limped through his home without health insurance. To the vultures in the room, she was just a maid's daughter, but Naomi felt the literal weight of the Galleon Empire's downfall resting against her spine. She stayed perfectly calm as the silence in the room slammed down like a gavel. She wasn't here to beg for pocket change. She was here to deliver a reckoning. The heavy oak doors creaked open, and a stunned silence spread as Mr. Alvarez, the family attorney for over 30 years, stepped into the suffocating atmosphere of the boardroom. Mark Galleon immediately adjusted his blazer, a practiced mass of professional warmth sliding into place as he stepped forward with an outstretched hand. "Mr. Alvarez, thank God you're here," Mark said, his voice carrying the entitled weight of a man expecting a coronation. "Someone was just about to escort the help back to the service elevator, so we can begin." Alvarez didn't even glance at the hand offered to him. He moved past Mark as if the man were part of the furniture he had once accused Naomi of being. The room held its breath as the veteran lawyer walked straight to Naomi. He stopped, inclining his head in a gesture of profound, unwavering respect. "Miss Teasley," he said, his voice firm and carrying across the graveyard of bruised egos. "The board has been waiting. Please, take your seat at the head of the table." Mark's hand remained frozen in the air, his face turning a shade of purple that matched the mounting dread in his chest. Mark's mouth hung open as Mr. Alvarez pulled his spectacles down, his eyes piercing through the family's shared arrogance. "You shouldn't be surprised, Mark," Alvarez stated, his voice ringing with a weight that made the room feel even smaller. While the Galleons had spent years treating Naomi like invisible furniture as she cleaned their estate alongside her mother, she had been Alvarez's secret apprentice. Naomi stood tall, the frayed backpack now a symbol of her hidden labor as Alvarez revealed the truth. She had just graduated summa cum laude in corporate law on a full scholarship she earned through sheer brilliance. While the heirs were floundering in expensive boarding schools, Naomi was working 2 jobs and mastering the complexities of international finance to survive. The cleaning girl was actually the most qualified legal mind in the room, having spent her night studying the very laws the Galleons thought they were above. The shock was thick enough to taste as Naomi looked at the board, her transformation from servant to scholar finally complete. At the far end of the table, Tiffany Galleon sneered, her fingers flying across her phone screen as she snapped a grainy photo of Naomi's worn-out sneakers resting on the hand-woven carpet. She typed the hashtag uninvited, and when the help thinks they're heirs to her 200,000 followers, eager to watch the internet tear the cleaning girl apart. But the digital tide turned with a speed that left her breathless. Within seconds, the comments section didn't fill with mockery, but with recognition. The world already knew Naomi. As a top-tier scholar and a rising star in corporate law, her face was already trending in academic circles. Instead of a joke, the post became a public record of the Galleon family's cruelty. Tiffany's phone hit the floor with a hollow thud as she realized she hadn't exposed a fraud, but had accidentally broadcasted her own family's elitism to a global audience. The headline wasn't what she intended. The cleaning girl was now the hero of a story the Galleons could no longer control. The lights dimmed, and the screen at the end of the room flickered to life as the frail but commanding face of Arthur Galleon filled the space. A heavy silence fell over the board as the late founder's eyes seemed to pierce through every soul present. "If you are watching this, I have left this world," he began, his voice steady despite his illness. "I imagine you are eager to hear about my estate. But first, a question. Can any of you tell me the name of the girl who cleaned this office for 5 years? The silence in the room became deafening as Arthur revealed he had watched them through security footage for years. The screen switched to a grainy recording of Mark deliberately spilling coffee for Naomi to clean, snapping at her while she worked with quiet dignity. "I watched you treat her like a servant," Arthur's voice boomed, "while she was the only one truly protecting my legacy." Mark's face drained of color as he realized the founder hadn't been blind. He had been a silent witness to every act of cruelty. The screen transitioned from grainy footage of hallway slights to sharp, high-definition captures of internal ledgers and offshore wire transfers. Arthur Galleon's voice returned, now cold and surgical, as it cut through the room like a blade. "You thought Naomi was just cleaning the floors, Mark, but she was actually cleaning up the mess you made of my books." On screen, a complex web of shell companies dissolved to reveal a staggering truth. Mark had siphoned $12 million into secret accounts, disguised as failed investments. The board members stared in horror as the exact digital trail, meticulously uncovered by Naomi during her late-night studies, flashed for all to see. Mark's breath hitched, his composed executive mask finally shattering into 1,000 pieces. He had spent years underestimating the girl in the background, never realizing she was the one who had found the crack in his armor. The evidence was irrefutable, turning the boardroom into a courtroom where the verdict had already been signed in Arthur's own hand. The air in the room turned ice-cold as Mr. Alvarez cleared his throat to read the final decree of the Galleon estate. Mark gripped the edge of the mahogany table, his knuckles white, but the hammer of justice was already falling. "I, Arthur Galleon, hereby leave 51% of Galleon International, the primary estate, and all liquid assets totaling $80 million to Naomi Teasley," Alvarez declared, his voice carrying the weight of an unbreakable law. A collective gasp echoed through the room as the board members sat paralyzed, their faces a gallery of shock and shattered egos. Mark looked as if he might choke, his mouth opening and closing with no sound coming out. Naomi didn't gloat. She simply rose and pulled a sharp designer blazer from her tattered backpack, slipping it on over her plain shirt. The transformation was absolute. She wasn't just a scholar or a witness anymore. She was a majority shareholder. The house help had become the crown, and the boardroom was now her kingdom. Mr. Alvarez continued, delivering the final blow. The Galleon family was officially unemployed, their corporate accounts terminated, to receive a meager monthly stipend. They were now required to complete 160 hours of manual labor at the Teasley Community Center, all under the strict supervision of Naomi's mother, Celeste One. The room became a graveyard of bruised egos as Naomi picked up the empty coffee cup Mark had earlier tried to force upon her too. With the calculated, cold gaze of CEO, she handed it back to him with a thin, sharp smile. "The trash is picked up at 6 a.m. Monday, Mark," she said, her voice echoing with the weight of her new authority. "Don't be late. Miss a day, miss a check for..." As security guards guided the stunned, disgraced family out, Naomi calmly took her seat at the head of the table 5. Justice had finally paid the bill, and the girl they claimed didn't belong was now the only one who remained 6.
Thank you for watching Brittany Stories. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more powerful stories you won't forget. And please leave a comment, I would love to hear from you.